Paulette Goddard raged against convention. An ambitious brunette amongst many platinum blondes in Hollywood, her fierce independence and fiery personality was legendary. Her confirmed and rumored romances with wealthy, prominent men, even more so. But despite her talent for turning a bad situation around, the actress couldn't unrun fate's cruel plan forever. 1. She had a different name. Paulette Goddard was born in 1910, and her birth name was actually Marion. However, at some point in her childhood, her mother began calling her Pauline instead. Yet this minor name swap was merely one curiosity in a childhood filled with upheaval. When she was young, her family moved to Kansas, and that was where her early life took a dramatic turn. 2. Her parents' divorce was dramatic. Soon after settling in Kansas, Paulette's parents separated and ultimately divorced. The real reason remains unclear. Paulette later claimed her father abandoned the family, while her father, Joseph, spun a darker narrative. He alleged that the blame lay entirely with Paulette's mother. Whatever the true cause, the family splintered, leaving Paulette and her mother on their own. 3. She went on the run. From her father's perspective, his ex-wife essentially kidnapped Paulette to avoid a custody battle. Mother and daughter never stayed long in one place, constantly moving, even spending some time in Canada. The effect on Paulette was profound, lingering well into adulthood. In fact, decades later, she made an audacious statement about her father that ignited a public scandal. 4. She made an enemy. In 1938, Paulette claimed Joseph wasn't actually her biological father. Outraged, Joseph sued her for defamation. He insisted her accusation harmed his reputation and cost him his job, so Paulette should pay him restitution. The courts ruled against her, and she was ordered to pay her father $35 per week. Yet by then, she was already entangled in other sorts of mischief, thanks to the survival tactics she learned in adolescence. 5. She was shady. During her teenage years, Paulette and her mother scraped by through dubious means. They would board steamships and woo wealthy male passengers, conning them out of money. This questionable pattern, charming affluent men, would echo throughout Paulette's personal life in the years to come, leading to multiple relationships with high-powered suitors. 6. She had an influential relative. Luckily, Paulette's mother's family included someone who could offer a different kind of boost. Paulette's great-uncle, Charles Goddard. He introduced her to famed Broadway producer Florenz Ziegfeld, paving the way for Paulette's stage debut in No Foolin'. That wasn't the only introduction Charles facilitated, however. He also led her to a man who would become her first husband. 7. She was a teen bride. 1927 was a major year for Paulette. After a handful of stage appearances, she met Edgar James through Charles Goddard. Despite their wide age gap, the 17-year-old Paulette soon married James and moved with him to North Carolina. Unsurprisingly, the union floundered from the start. 8. Her marriage was a disaster. Paulette soon grew unhappy in her new life. Within just 2 years, her dissatisfaction ended the marriage. The bright side? Her divorce settlement amounted to an impressive $375,000, a fortune at the time. With fresh resources and youthful determination, she refocused on her next step, a career in entertainment. 9. She became a Goldwyn girl. In 1930, Paulette signed a movie deal with legendary producer Samuel Goldwyn, officially becoming one of his Goldwyn girls, like fellow actress Lucille Ball. Despite this early break, Paulette and Goldwyn frequently clashed. Deciding it wasn't the right fit, she left for Hal Roach Studios, a pivotal choice that changed her entire life trajectory. 10. She met a tramp. Shortly after jumping to Hal Roach Studios, Paulette encountered Charlie Chaplin, the world-famous star known as the Tramp. They first crossed paths on a yacht owned by Joe Schenck, president of United Artists, a company Chaplin had helped found. Their initial meeting didn't spark romance straight away, but Chaplin gave Paulette an invaluable piece of advice that would alter her future. 11. Chaplin saved her. At the time, Paulette was considering investing $50,000 from her divorce settlement into a shaky film venture. Eager for input from a seasoned Hollywood veteran, she asked Chaplin's opinion. He advised her to steer clear of the dubious deal. She hadn't asked for anything else, but Chaplin wasn't done dispensing guidance. 12. She lost her golden crown aside. From financial counsel, Chaplin also weighed in on Paulette's appearance. She had dyed her naturally dark hair a bright platinum blonde, blending in with countless other fair-haired starlets. Chaplin didn't approve and suggested that Paulette return to her natural brunette color. She obliged, perhaps not realizing how much she'd impressed him already. 13. Chaplin had big plans for her. Chaplin had seen enough potential to want Paulette under his wing, yet she still had a contract with Hal Roach. Determined to mentor her, Chaplin purchased her contract outright and hired her himself, a major leap forward for the aspiring actress. Though it began strictly as a professional relationship, it wasn't long before their closeness took a more intimate turn. 14. She learned the art of charm. Chaplin not only refined Paulette's acting skills, but also polished her social savoir-faire. According to Paulette, he trained her to be captivating in short bursts, warning her never to talk for more than 3 minutes on a given topic. Her progress was swift, so swift that before long, teacher and student blurred into lovers. 15. She became his lover. With Chaplin's star power, their new romance inevitably garnered media attention. Almost overnight, Paulette's name appeared more frequently in the press, her fame bolstered by her connection to the iconic comedian. Not everyone in Chaplin's circle was thrilled, however. Her presence unsettled at least one close associate of his. 16th, her presence rocked the boat. Chaplin's chauffeur and private secretary, Teraichi Kono, did not appreciate Paulette's sudden importance in Chaplin's life. His discomfort escalated until Chaplin arranged a position for him at United Artists Japan. With Kono out of the picture, the couple grew even closer, eventually reaching an intriguing milestone. 17. She couldn't get enough of him. Paulette and Chaplin became inseparable, so much so that Chaplin bought a yacht simply so they could escape to Catalina on weekends. By 1936, they reportedly eloped in Canton, China, yet their nuptials contained a puzzling secret that would plague them for years. 18. Her marriage caused confusion. No definitive record existed confirming the legality of their wedding. Publicly, Chaplin once called Paulette his wife at a movie premiere, but later he told relatives the marriage wasn't legitimate. Whether it was a ruse or a misunderstanding, the couple seemed happy enough. Still, that didn't stop tantalizing rumors from circulating about Paulette's loyalty. 19. She was the subject of salacious rumors. Whispers emerged suggesting Paulette had a fling with composer George Gershwin during her relationship with Chaplin, and that Gershwin wrote, "They can't take that away from me," in tribute to her. Though unverified, these rumors further cemented Paulette's reputation as someone with an undeniable appeal to creative types. She seemed particularly drawn to gifted artistic men, and her next rumored liaison fit that mold perfectly. 20. She had an eye for artistic talent gossip, also linked Paulette to famed Mexican artist Diego Rivera, husband of Frida Kahlo. The story went that Gershwin had suggested Rivera paint Paulette's portrait, sparking a relationship that extended beyond the canvas. The speculation didn't end there, though. There were even more provocative allegations regarding Rivera and Kahlo themselves. 21. They had an interesting relationship. Scandalous whispers claimed Paulette embarked on relationships with both Diego Rivera and Frida Kahlo, creating a rumored love triangle. Whether or not any of it was true, Paulette's bond with Rivera apparently ran deep enough to prompt speculation that she might have saved his life. 22. She defied the authorities. Rivera believed Paulette helped him escape scrutiny from Mexican authorities after the murder of writer Leon Trotsky, Frida's lover. Rivera feared being implicated in the crime, so Paulette reportedly hid him under canvases in a station wagon, enabling him to flee his studio undetected. Even if there had been romantic entanglements with Rivera, they didn't derail the formidable partnership Paulette maintained with Chaplin. 23. She became the gamine. In 1936, Chaplin cast Paulette in what would become one of her most famous roles, the gamin, a spirited orphan in modern times. It was her first fully credited performance, and critics praised her work. The film's success propelled her forward, raising her profile enough to grab a fateful opportunity, one she almost seized. 24. She almost went with the wind. David O. Selznick signed Paulette for a multi-picture deal, starting with The Young in Heart. Impressed by her talent, Selznick considered her for the iconic role of Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind. But heartbreak awaited Paulette. Despite making it to the final two contenders, alongside Vivien Leigh, she lost the part, primarily due to doubts about her temperament and concerns about her ties to Chaplin. Nonetheless, Paulette found another open door. 25. She was dynamite. Those same film executives acknowledged Paulette's acting prowess but found her powerful personality potentially combustible. As one reportedly said, "I think she is dynamite that will explode in our faces if we give her the part." The studio's worry and ongoing scheduling conflicts ultimately tipped the scales against her. Undeterred, she moved on to a new studio and fresh roles. 26. Hope was on the horizon. In 1939, Paulette signed a deal with Paramount Pictures, leading to her appearance alongside Bob Hope in The Cat and the Canary. Audiences loved the duo's chemistry, prompting two more collaborations, The Ghostbreakers and Nothing But the Truth. These successes served as a preview for the even bigger triumphs waiting just around the corner. 27. She was in a movie with a dictator. The year 1940 brought Paulette back under Chaplin's guidance when they co-starred in The Great Dictator. Chaplin portrayed both a satirical version of Adolf Hitler and a humble Jewish barber, with Paulette playing the barber's neighbor. The film became a commercial and critical smash, and it remains a landmark satire. Unfortunately, it also ended her working partnership with Chaplin. 28. She never worked with him again. After the success of The Great Dictator, Paulette and Chaplin announced their separation. They parted on amicable terms, staying friendly even as Paulette collected a divorce settlement that theoretically included one more movie with Chaplin, though it never materialized. As her personal life shifted, Paulette's career suddenly soared. 29th, her career soared. Throughout the early 1940s, Paulette's film roles flourished. In 1943, she starred in So Proudly We Hail, a performance so strong that it earned her an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actress. Though she didn't win, the recognition proved she'd ascended to Hollywood's upper tier at last. 30. She kept climbing. By 1944, Paulette renewed her Paramount contract and hit her stride in Kitty, the most successful film she made with that studio. Amid this professional high point, she also found a second chance at love, fellow actor Burgess Meredith. 31. She found love again. She married Meredith in 1944, then co-starred with him in The Diary of a Chambermaid, a United Artists production, interestingly enough, the company Chaplin had founded. Although she now had both a thriving career and a newfound marriage, tragedy would strike her domestic life soon after. 32, she survived a tragedy. Only a few months into her marriage to Meredith, Paulette suffered a miscarriage in October 1944. It was her only documented pregnancy. While she and Meredith weathered that heartbreak, an even greater storm was brewing as the decade wore on, threatening her husband's career. 33rd, her husband was in trouble. The post-war fear of communism invaded Hollywood. Meredith found himself blacklisted, and by extension, Paulette was also tainted by association. One rumor even claimed that an angry crowd harassed them on their way to a premiere, prompting Paulette to quip, "Shall I roll down the window and hit them with my diamonds, Bugsy?" But as with her earlier marriages, the union with Meredith soon faced rumors of infidelity. 34. She romanced. A business mogul speculation ran wild that Paulette, ever an opportunist, set her sights on millionaire Howard Hughes. Allegedly, she told people, "Hughes is the only man in America rich enough for me." Hughes apparently saw through her intentions and backed away quickly. Still, whether or not these rumors had merit, her marriage with Meredith fell apart for an entirely different reason. 35. But the marriage ended over dinner. According to the story, Paulette ended Meredith's love for her by cooking his pet pig for a special Thanksgiving dinner. She'd wanted to impress the artist Salvador Dalí, who was a guest. Enraged, Meredith never forgave her. The marriage collapsed soon thereafter. Unfortunately, Paulette's professional life was also about to unravel. 36. Her star power faded. By the late 1940s, Paulette's box office appeal waned. Unconquered, 1947, flopped, hindered by disagreements on set, particularly between Paulette and director Cecil B. DeMille over a dangerous stunt she refused to do. She starred in another movie that same year, which similarly failed to recoup its costs, deepening her slump. 37. Her hair stopped production. On the English set of An Ideal Husband, Paulette caused further controversy. She insisted on employing her Swedish-American hairstylist, which incensed the local production crew to the point that they walked off the job after only a day. The film finished with tensions high and no real boost to Paulette's faltering stardom. 38th, her career flatlined. The consecutive flops ensured Paulette was no longer considered a reliable box office draw or a critical darling. By 1949, Paramount ended their contract with her. On the plus side, no longer tied to a single studio, Paulette could explore new ventures. 39. A new door opened for her. Paulette produced a film in the early 1950s, appeared in a few minor roles, and tried her hand at TV and stage. Disappointing reviews and sparse opportunities soon followed, marking the end of her major on-screen presence. Nonetheless, Paulette remained financially secure. She had a secret weapon. 40. She was a smart cookie. Paulette had quietly amassed independent wealth through shrewd investments. By the late 1950s, she didn't need to work. She more or less retired from Hollywood, finally finding stability after years of personal and professional roller coasters. 41. She got her happily ever after. After 3 marriages that all ended in divorce, Paulette wed Erich Maria Remarque, the German writer best known for All Quiet on the Western Front. Though he was older, reminiscent of her earlier partners, their bond lasted until his passing, making it her only marriage that did not end in a split. They lived mostly in Switzerland and maintained a curious marital arrangement. 42. They had a special living arrangement. When they stayed in New York, Paulette and Remarque lived in the same building but maintained separate apartments. Though they dined together each evening, they seemed comfortable with spending much of their time apart. Even so, when Remarque needed her most, Their unusual living style showed cracks. 43. They lived separate lives. After Remarque suffered a stroke, Paulette continued long stints away from him, traveling to New York while he remained in Switzerland. Letters he wrote expressed regret about his condition hindering their companionship. Eventually, Remarque's health failed completely. When he passed, Paulette inherited a substantial estate. 44. More money came her way. Already wealthy from her own investments, Paulette now received the bulk of Remarque's assets, including homes and an impressive collection of contemporary art. Art had always been a shared passion of theirs, and Paulette found a lucrative way to manage the pieces she inherited. 45. She had good taste. Paulette had begun gathering notable artworks even before her widowhood. Her discerning eye for impressionist art paid off handsomely in 1979 when she sold her collection for $3.1 million, topping estimates of $2.9 million. News of her financial success attracted the attention of old Hollywood circles, who suddenly had reason to talk about her again. 46. She had Hollywood talking again. People marveled at her knack for making money and forging powerful connections. Having transitioned from actress to savvy businesswoman, she regained some of her fading celebrity. But simply growing her fortune wasn't enough for Paulette. She also reveled in an active social life. 47. She became a socialite. Flush with funds and new esteem, Paulette relished New York's high society scene. Known for her expensive taste in jewelry, she was a regular presence at cultural events, easily mingling with wealthy personalities. This social resurrection also introduced her to notable creative icons of the era. 48. She had friends in high places. One such friend was Andy Warhol. Despite their age gap, they formed a close bond that lasted until his passing in 1987. Warhol, entranced by Paulette's colorful life stories, especially her once headline-grabbing marriages, found her an endless source of fascination. Yet just when it looked like Paulette might spend her later years in relative contentment, fate intervened once more. 49th, her fortunes reversed again. In 1975, Paulette underwent a mastectomy for breast cancer. Though the operation succeeded medically, it bruised her self-confidence. Struggling to accept the changes to her body, the former screen siren gradually spiraled into seclusion, compounded by heavy drinking. 50, her life ended in sadness. As the final 15 years of her life passed, Paulette withdrew ever further from public view. Her health deteriorated until, on April 23, 1990, she passed away from heart failure. It was a quiet, sorrowful conclusion for a once glittering star who had lived and loved on her own terms.